Hi, everybody, and welcome to CEO Chat. It is Friday at around 11:30. My name is Al Cini.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
And we have a terrific guest, a returning guest, and a friend of ours, Dr. Kenneth Sable, who is the president of the Jersey Shore University Medical Center. I got it better this time. I got that out better this time than I did, I think, the last time.
You passed. Nice job.
Let's see. Now, Doc, you were here about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and in that time, you've gone from 11 hospitals to 16. You've got 6,500 physicians in your network. It's Hackensack Meridian, in addition. And anyway, there's been a lot of growth, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I think I want to start the conversation with the newest thing, which is medical school. Maybe you can talk about that.
Sure. And first, thanks for having me back.
Oh,
what a pleasure.
I really enjoyed my time last time.
Great.
So as you probably have seen in the news, Hackensack Meridian Health, in partnership with Seton Hall University, started the first private medical school in New Jersey, which is really something that hasn't been done in many, many years. And we're really excited about it, to be able to give New Jersey residents an opportunity to train at a top-notch school. And we're really excited about the future.
Well, and there are a couple of elements of that school that in our conversation before the program I found exciting. First of all, it's 3 years, not 4. Talk a little bit about that.
So, as you know, I'm a physician, and when I trained, the age-old curriculum was 4 years. It was 2 years in the classroom for your basic sciences, and then it was 2 years in the clinical environment. And unfortunately, I think most people realize that the fourth year ended up being mostly an elective year, and a very expensive elective year when you think about the average student comes out with $200,000 plus in debt.
A mortgage in debt.
So we took a novel approach and created a 3-year curriculum. So this way, students can get their full academic training within 3 years and begin to work sooner and hopefully come out with less debt.
It's pretty innovative. Any other schools doing that besides yours?
There are some. We're not the first, but there's not, by and large, the majority of schools today are still the 2+2
schools,
four-year curriculum.
So it takes you longer to become a doctor and it costs more money. And,
Absolutely.
That's definitely a consideration today with the cost of education. But one of the ways you take it from 4 years to 3 years is by putting the latest technology and the newest stuff in the school. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. We try to condense the curriculum a little bit within 3 years instead of 4. We use various teleconferencing tools to be able to do lectures and things from remote sites. And we do a lot of simulation training as well.
Oh, that's great. And that simulation training includes models of the human body that kids can learn on.
Sure.
Kids. These are young adults becoming doctors. And that is actually another subject because it's come up in some other physicians that we've talked to. We kind of live in an age where maybe parent physicians are advising their children not to become doctors because it's so difficult. But the truth is, people still want to be doctors, don't they?
I think so. When you look at when we opened up the application process for our new school back in March, within the first 2 weeks we had over 2,000 applications for 60 spots in the first year class.
No, that's great. And your ribbon cutting was in June. I think we have a picture of the ribbon cutting ceremony. That was just in June, and you've just had your first white coat ceremony, your 60 new incoming students.
Yeah, the white coat ceremony is something that started back in 1993, and that's where all the doctors, the newly minted students coming into medical school get a white coat, and they say the Hippocratic Oath, how they're going to do no harm, and it's their first really foray into medical school.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's a real milestone, and I know I know it really matters to you because that's a passion of yours to make sure that we're growing a crop of physicians to meet the needs of the 21st century, which is changing. So,
well, absolutely. I mean, we all know healthcare is changing, and we also know that there's a projected shortage of physicians, not only in New Jersey but in the country. And so, this new medical school, hopefully, with giving preferential treatment to New Jersey residents, will attract more New Jersey residents into the school, and hopefully those students, when they become doctors, will stay in the state.
Will stay in the state, which is certainly a state that needs more doctors. So
no doubt.
So how do you feel about millennials becoming doctors? I mean, people talk about millennials all the time. Are they going to be good doctors?
Of course they're going to be good doctors.
That's good to hear.
Why wouldn't?
Because Joe's going to need them soon.
We all will.
Yeah, I know.
you know, medicine is still a very noble profession.
Right.
And you know what? More than anything else, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to take care of patients.
Absolutely.
And as a physician myself, and I stopped practicing about 6 years ago, but there's nothing better than being able to take care of a patient. And to have patients trust you, there's no better higher honor, right?
Exactly.
With their life and their health care.
Yeah, that's
And I
great.
think millennials learn, everybody's doing texting and everything now, but I think that they get more to the human element once they go to medical school.
Well, that human element, I think, is a big part of the training, too.
Right.
It's not just about training in the mechanics and the techniques. It's also about how do you deal with people.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about millennials, as we all know, they're highly tech savvy.
Right.
Exactly.
And so as we move into an age where more and more technology is used in medicine, who better than the
Right.
millennials
Then these
to be able to
kids are-
adopt and adapt to the new technologies?
Exactly.
But by the same token, they need to learn the kind of skill it takes to communicate with a patient verbally
Absolutely.
who's maybe in a great deal of distress and make them feel reassured and comforted and not just text them.
Right. There's no substitute for a healthy doctor-patient relationship
Right.
and
Yeah.
understanding how, in a very short period of time, being able to make that bond with a patient.
And that's a big part of the school's value proposition. Where's the school located?
The school is located in Clifton and Nutley. It borders two towns,
Okay.
and it's at the site of the old Hoffman LaRoche Pharmaceutical Company.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a beautiful building. It's a great area. We get only positive feedback from the students thus far.
And how big do you see this getting?
Hopefully very big, obviously to meet the need, but we're starting with a smaller class of 60 students, and each year we'll ramp that up, most likely over 100 students per class once we're at steady state. And we're also interested in how we can have those students come and do further training in their residency and fellowships at our Hackensack Meridian Health facilities.
Sure.
That's great.
So
And-
everybody does everything for them.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, one-stop shop,
That's
exactly.
perfect. And with 2,000 applicants, it doesn't seem like you'll have a shortage of applicants going forward.
It doesn't seem that way, does it?
Yeah.
And people are interested in becoming physicians. There's no shortage.
That's great. Well, you've got a whole bunch of other things I know you want to talk about too. We'll talk about the Hope Center when we come back after this break.
Great.
We'll be back with more of Dr. Kenneth Sable after these words here on CEO Chat.
Stick around.
When did you see the
Welcome back to CEO Chat. This guy's name is Joe Asamendi,
That's my partner, Alcini.
and
Good
it's
to
always
see
a
you.
pleasure working with you.
Absolutely.
But more important than anything, we have with us today Dr. Kenneth Sable, Hackensack Meridian, Jersey Shore University Medical Center, the president. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
And you've got so much to talk about. We just talked about the medical school, which I think is very exciting. But here's our opportunity to talk about Hope Tower. Maybe you can talk about. Just opened back in April. Is that
April.
right?
April.
Great. Tell us.
So
about
this
that.
was a project that started about 2.5 years ago, and about 8 years ago, Jersey Shore had a transformation. We built a new bed tower, added new cardiovascular ICU, we added new operating rooms, added new inpatient beds, and this is the outpatient version of that. So Hope Tower, Hope is an acronym that stands for Healing Outpatient Experience,
Okay.
is a fully outpatient building. It's 10 stories, 300,000 square feet of space, and it houses our outpatient imaging center, pre-admission testing, laboratory, our state-of-the-art cancer center with radiation oncology, an expanded infusion center with a multidisciplinary clinic. And then we also have clinical academic departments as well. So departments of medicine, pediatrics, surgery, obstetrics, and gynecology are all housed in Hope Tower. Previously, they were located scattered throughout the region.
Right.
And now we've centralized everything into one tower.
That's great.
Also in the building, which is very exciting for me, is a very state-of-the-art simulation center, where we can, I mentioned this earlier, where we can train residents, medical students, attending physicians, all of our allied health professionals using state-of-the-art technology, high-fidelity simulators and mannequins.
Wow.
These mannequins would scare you beyond belief.
Really?
They can actually open their eyes, they can track you, they bleed. They can bleed.
Really?
No kidding.
You can
So-
deliver babies? I'm like
You
a
can
bird?
deliver babies,
Wow.
you can
Wow.
simulate a C-section,
Yeah, geez.
you can simulate an operating room environment.
That's great.
So it's really a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art. I wish I had this when I was training. I had to learn on real people.
You had to learn on real people,
with
and this is so you're way ahead of the game with
Yeah.
this kind of training
Way-
available to you.
Right,
That's
way ahead of the
terrific.
game. That's why we call this Transformation 2.0, if you will.
Great. And what kind of response are you getting from it?
Oh, it's great. The community loves it. You know, we're here to exist for the community, to serve the community, and they are just ecstatic about it. It's state of the art. It's clean. It's new. Some of the higher end services are now all in one place. The multidisciplinary clinic brings all the services directly to the patient. So the patient with cancer, for example, doesn't have to go and search on their own for their medical oncologist, their surgical oncologist, their geneticist, their nutritionist. We'll bring all those resources in a coordinated fashion to the patient.
That's fantastic.
Well, that is so important because when you catch patients with those kinds of conditions, they're often in no shape really to do a lot of hunting around. And,
Exactly.
So it's about as convenient and supportive as you can possibly be, and I think that's And what kind of you mentioned cancer treatment, and I know cancer treatment is evolving. What do you do at Hope Tower that's different?
So pretty much everything. We do radiation oncology. We have state-of-the-art, what's called linear accelerators for radiation oncology. We have 33 infusion chairs, which is an upgrade from 11 that we had in our old cancer site. And all the latest and greatest and high-tech technologies and treatment offerings. In addition, we have a partnership with Memorial Sloan Kettering, and that allows us to share clinical trials and offer the best of the best to our patients close to home.
Right, that's
Great.
fantastic.
So you've got experts in New York City that you can call on if
Absolutely,
you need
as
to, and
needed.
they're available to you. And
it's also about sharing best practices, evidence-based guidelines,
Great.
so that a patient can get the best care close to home. They don't have to go all the way into New York City.
Right, exactly.
That's terrific. Now, we had a little bit of a discussion before the program about telemedicine.
Right.
You've got some facilities too for that. Maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, telehealth is the next latest and greatest technology that I think will be, it's actually here already, but I think will continue to change the landscape of healthcare delivery and will be really, I believe, one of the newest and biggest disruptors to healthcare. We have a pretty interesting model. We do currently what's called telestroke. So if a patient comes into any one of our emergency departments and they're exhibiting symptoms of a stroke, within seconds or minutes, the emergency room physician can use telemedicine, to speak to a board-certified neurologist remotely to guide the treatment for that patient. And as we know, with stroke or heart attacks, time is muscle and time is brain.
Yeah, the first 3 minutes, first 4 minutes of treatment are critical, I think.
We're also looking at expanding into what's called telebehavioral health. So this is where patients who come in crisis, oftentimes it takes a long time to get a practitioner to see them.
Right.
And we're utilizing the vast array of our own network to be able to have doctors or practitioners at another hospital chime in through the telehealth platform and be able to evaluate patients at our hospital, for example.
Okay, that's
when
great.
we're getting overwhelmed.
So that's emergency medicine, and I know that's your background. That's that's a spot that you
Close to my
near
heart.
and dear to your heart. Okay.
Right.
How do you do that differently? What is it? What changes are you driving there
In emergency
in
medicine?
emergency care?
Well, emergency care has changed quite a bit with the cropping up of many urgent care centers and ready clinics and things like that, which we do. It's all about getting the right care at the right time in the right location for the right cost. So what we're seeing is that a lot of the lower acuity type care is now appropriately going to outpatient locations. And what's happening is the emergency departments that we know and love, or maybe not love, but I do, end up being more really tertiary type centers for really the sick patients.
Really?
And the more we can divert less acute patients to the cheaper settings or lower cost settings, the better it is for patients and for the healthcare system in general.
And they more readily triaged real emergency cases are because they're not crowded behind
Absolutely.
cases that may not be that critical.
Correct.
Well, I think that's important. You get much better outcomes from that. And yeah, I think we're coming up on a break, but
Okay.
I definitely want to talk about outcomes because if there's anything I know about Dr. Kenneth Sable, it's that he's by the numbers. And we'll talk about the numbers and also patient care and some innovation
Great.
when we get back with more CEO chat after these messages. We'll be right back.
Don't go away.
Thank you.
Did you
Welcome back to CEO Chat. My name is Al
I'm
Cini,
still Joe Osamendi.
and we have a terrific guest, Dr. Kenneth Sable, who is the president of Jersey Shore University Medical Center. I really have that down.
I'm impressed.
And, an awful lot of growth just in the last year since the last time we spoke with you, from 11 hospitals to 16. And I want to talk about that growth a little later. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about innovation and how you try new things in a medical center, but you also have to be pretty sure that those new things are going to work. Maybe you could talk about how you manage that.
Sure. Well, that's always a challenging space, innovation. It has to be done with the right safety and protocols in place as you try new things. One of the things that we're proud of is we just started a Center for Discovery and Innovation at Hackensack Meridian Health. And with $25 million of seed money we put up, we created what's called, we call Bears Dens.
Okay.
It's a little take on the Shark Tank, if you will, but we're not allowed to use Shark Tank.
Right.
And at all of our sites, we have Bears Dens, which are designed to be spaces, open spaces for team members, other people to come and share ideas. And we believe that a lot of the great ideas come from the front lines, the people who are actually at the bedside touching
Right.
patients. And so we're trying to cultivate an environment of creativity, an environment of discovery and innovation, and we want people to have a place where they can bring their ideas to the forefront. In addition, we're actually working with startup companies and others who have some really innovative products that are coming out, and we want to be partners with them to help take an idea from a concept through production to a product and actually out to market.
That's great. So you can actually give them some experience with their ideas in the setting of your, so it's a win-win actually for your partner and for you.
That's the goal.
And now you've got senior doctors and young doctors working together. And
Right.
if you watch television, there's always a natural amount of dramatic tension between those two. How do you keep older doctors fresh and wanting to learn new things and younger doctors communicating well with them? I mean, is that a
Right.
cultural thing?
Somewhat, it's a cultural thing. It's a challenge. I'm not going to lie. Different people, things that are important to older docs are different than what's important to younger docs. So, for example, we talked about the millennials earlier. The fact of the matter is that millennials are much more interested in working for a hospital or a health system. They want to be employed.
Right.
They want a regular schedule. They want a predictable schedule. Whereas the older generations built their practices and skills up from the ground up, working
Right.
very, very long hours, sacrificed families and lifestyle overall. And the millennials are a little bit different. They're not really interested in that. So
Okay.
it's a challenge, no doubt.
So there's a difference, but your culture, though, I mean, is really one of the things that glues all that together. And we talked about the growth in the system a little while ago. When you acquire a new hospital, you've got to communicate to them your values and the way you do things. How do you manage that?
Well, again, that's a long process. It's a challenging process. I'm sure you've heard the old cliche that culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And that's absolutely true. And while we set out to define a new culture, we recognize that it's not just about words. You can't just say to 33,000 team members, okay, here's your new culture,
Right.
A, B, C, D, and E. You actually have to articulate it, which is important. You have to model it. You have to define it. You have to empower people to be champions. And you have to be consistent and repetitive. And so that's where we're in the process now of trying to integrate 33,000 people across 16 different hospitals. And, that takes time, but we're well on our way, and we have some great leaders that are helping us through the process.
What's next on the horizon for you? Since we saw you last week,
I
we've seen
know,
all
we're
these
going to be
innovations.
seeing you again in a year,
Yeah,
let's say.
exactly.
What are you going to be telling us about?
Well, the further development of the medical school, potentially, continued growth at Jersey Shore and across Hackensack Meridian Health. Looking for different ways to find new partners, innovate, and there's, who knows, some things that we haven't even thought of yet that
Right.
are not even on our radar may present themselves.
That may present themselves over the course of next year. Now, we mentioned a little bit before that I know Dr. Sable is about the numbers and about the metrics, but you're also about patient care
Right.
and patients feeling like they're cared for. That's a balancing act. How do you manage that?
Well, we prioritize, and first and foremost, number 1, 2, and 3 is quality. If you don't have, and that's with any industry, any product, if you don't have a good quality product or service, nobody's going to want to come to you.
Right.
So what we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of dollars on quality. And that's evidenced by when you look at our leapfrog scores, where we just achieved an A in the spring. Some of our other, U.S. News and World Report, health grades, and other areas where we do very, very well. It's not by accident. It's from a commitment by the organization from the top down as well as from the bottom up to quality. Secondarily is the patient experience, which goes hand in hand. And we have a number of resources that we have deployed with some unique technology as well. We do a lot of rounding where all of our leaders and senior execs round on patients throughout the hospital. And we use an iPad and a software product to track what their experience is. And if we can find something that they're not happy about, we can implement some service recovery in real time. And ultimately, all this is about the triple aim, which is the best quality, the best experience, and at the best cost.
Right.
And that's what we're after.
And that really kind of captures the culture in a nutshell. And when you acquire a new hospital, that's the standard you set.
Right.
And but then again, the hospitals you acquire pretty much already set those standards for themselves. I know that's there are great hospitals in New Jersey, and as your network grows, consolidation, by the way, is really the wave of the future, isn't it?
I think so. I think that as more and more, as healthcare changes, the technology requirements, the population health requirements, I think it's just critical that organizations consolidate in order to be able to achieve the necessary scale to be able to serve the population and the changes that are here and continuing to come in healthcare as we see them today. And in fact, New Jersey is probably behind in terms of consolidation when you look at some of the other states like California and others who are way ahead of the game.
And how much of this is driven by insurance companies, if I can ask? I mean, is it where does the pressure come for this?
Yeah, I don't think it's driven by insurance companies, but it's no doubt driven by the changing landscape of healthcare.
The economics of it.
The economics of healthcare and the need to provide highest quality, best patient experience, and low cost. And that triple aim is really what's, I think, driven a lot of the consolidation that we continue to see throughout the state and throughout the country.
Well, and as the whole process becomes more mobile, it's important for people's medical records to be compatible across an entire system, so that everybody's information is available everywhere that it might be needed, and that's another way to drive that kind of compatibility.
And we're in the process now of migrating all of our hospitals to one electronic health record platform, and that will allow any patient who visits any of the Hackensack Meridian Health assets to be able to have their records immediately available no matter what location they go to.
No matter where you come in.
No matter where you come in.
Is it going to be happening fairly soon?
It's in progress now. Some of our organizations are already on, some of the institutions are already on this platform, and throughout the next 1.5 to 2 years, the rest of our offices and hospitals will be migrated to the platform.
Oh, terrific.
That's great. That's terrific. Okay, we're coming up on that part of the program where, the way I'm seeing it, if you need a doctor, if you think you want to be a doctor, if you're an organization that would like to partner with a progressive, advanced, growing medical organization, then you want to call Dr. Sable. So, Dr. Sable, if you can tell them how to reach you.
Well, before I say how to reach me, I just want to let everybody who's thinking about medical school out there know that it is still an unbelievable career, and I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to me at Jersey Shore University Medical Center. As far as Hackensack Meridian Health, you can reach us at hackensackmeridianhealth.org. And on that website, there are great resources and information about our new medical school, our various partnerships, our 16 hospitals, and anything else you could want to know about Hackensack Meridian Health. So thank you.
Dr. Sable, we can always count on you for a terrific interview, and thanks so much for joining us today on CEO Chat.
Thank you for coming
Thanks
over.
for having me.
Absolutely great. Terrific.
you.
And we'll see you again soon. I
hope so.
look forward to another repeat visit.
That would be great.
And thank you all for joining us today on CEO Chat. I'm Al Cini,
I'm Joe Osmendi.
and we'll be back again next Friday.
Have a great weekend. Stay safe and sound. See you next week.